Was Yale worth it? Are Ivy League universities really worth the cost? Spoiler, depends. My experience, honest reflections, and hot takes from graduating from Yale University. Let's get into it. Hey, welcome everyone. My name is Max Mao, and if you're new to the channel, I like to make content on career, productivity, and just life experiences. So let's address the elephant in the room. Is Yale really worth it? I'm gonna spill the tea. In order to answer that question, I'm going to break down my experiences in the following categories, including cost, academics, social activities, student body, best moments, regrets, and final reflections. This is intended to be a brutally honest review, so I'll try to keep it really real with you guys. Let's first go to cost. So I have some of the numbers pulled up here, and the cost for 1 year of tuition as of the 2023 to 2024 year is $83,880. That is extremely expensive. Hashtag inflation never rests. For majority of folks who come from a similar background as myself, growing up, I would not have been able to afford it. Luckily, I will say that while tuition is very expensive, a huge portion of that is subsidized based off of Yale's endowment fund, in addition to their financial aid policy and scholarships. Even though the cost of tuition and the total for room and board is super high, a majority of students actually do not pay anywhere near to that full price. On Yale Admissions website, they posted that the average cost that a student will have to pay during their time at Yale is around $15,000 per year. And while this number is still pretty high, it's nowhere near the $84,000 that is the total amount without any types of scholarships and financial aid. I myself received scholarships and financial aid, and because of those two, was able to graduate from Yale University debt-free. Wanted to also just make that a little more transparent, as when I first applied to Yale and got accepted, obviously the cost of tuition was extremely high. The one really good thing about Yale and also just Ivy League universities and large private universities in general is they tend to have a larger endowment budget, which means they're able to provide a lot more financial support to their students. Yale actually provided me with more money in terms of scholarships than a lot of other universities that I got accepted to, and because of that, it made sense that was the right decision as well. Let's go to academics now. Wanted to throw some of the statistics out there about Yale's graduation rate. So Yale's graduation rate is 97%. That is very, very high for a university, and their acceptance rate is 5%. So super hard to get in, but once you get in, knock on wood, you'll most likely pass. Give you a little more context as to my academic experience. I was pre-med at Yale. I studied molecular, cellular, and developmental biology. That's short for MCDB. I do not want to say the entire title again. That's too much of a mouthful. In addition to the actual academic school year, I did a lot of research in a structural biology lab, did 2 years of part-time research, and then 1 year of full-time research as a full-time student as well. One of the more popular questions I've been asked is, how hard are the classes? To be quite transparent, some of them are pretty freaking hard. No surprise. I can definitely confirm that during my time at Yale, I was challenged. But the classes really range depending on how familiar I was with the subject prior to Yale, in addition to the depth and how high the course level was for the class. For intro chemistry courses and biology courses, I didn't think they were too bad. I myself loved chemistry and did a lot of it in high school, and I thought the content was pretty straightforward. On the other hand, when it came to physics, I myself was not a physics guru, and a lot of the physics classes absolutely wrecked me. Definitely a very humbling moment. Again, it really depends on your familiarity with the subject, in addition to the course level and how advanced of a class you're taking at the time. In terms of whether the academics are worth it, I will 100% say that yes, they are, but not in the traditional sense. In terms of college coursework, I feel like a lot of the general content you can probably get online. So where I think Yale and other Ivy Leagues flourish, having very famous professors and having professors who are the pioneers in their field. What I mean by this is, for example, in one of my classes called biotechnology, my professor was Dr. Craig Cruz. He was the John C. Malone Professor of MCDB, and he was a founder of multiple biotech and drug development companies. And being able to learn outside of the context of what the class is itself, I found those moments to be very valuable. The same goes for the prestige of the professors, which not necessarily always correlates to quality, but for example, there were two very well-known scientists at Yale. One was Dr. Thomas Stites. He actually won the Nobel Prize in Chemistry in 2009, and his wife, Dr. Joanne Stites, won the National Medal of Science. So definitely a power couple, if I may. So to summarize, the course material, I think, can be pretty standardly learned on any platform or even online for free, but the professors and the people that you meet tend to have a lot more prestige, and they tend to be very interesting people that otherwise you wouldn't be able to meet. So let's go to activities now. At Yale, there are over 500 undergraduate clubs that have already been formed, and to be quite honest, I found it very easy to be overwhelmed. There are countless student groups that are always looking for new members, that are always pitching their ideas. If you're not very strategic about what you want to do and when you want to do it, you could completely fill up your time doing clubs that you may not have the most interest in. I was a part of a number of different clubs while at university, and my friends oftentimes even created their own clubs. There are very easy ways in which you're able to start your own club and get funding from the university to pursue projects and to just build out your ideas and dreams. Students oftentimes develop their own startups and pitched ideas to VC firms. I thought that was an interesting opportunity that I personally did not explore, but it was really cool to see a bunch of my friends doing those type of things and being able to see their ideas grow. In addition to academic clubs and startups, there are also a lot of social groups. Greek life at Yale is not as large as, let's say, ASU or some of your other state schools. I think the one cool thing about Yale, a cappella, like dance, there are a lot of different groups there as well. I think there's a nice balance between different types of social activities, and I've personally never found myself bored or never found myself alienated to a particular group, and have always had the opportunity to join any of those. All right, so let's move to the student body. How are Yale students? Are they obnoxious? Are they pretentious? This is a very interesting question. Personally for myself, I found Yale students to be extremely chill. Despite how everyone was incredibly intelligent, I felt like majority of the students were very humble. They never really bragged, and I mean, it just felt like a normal place to be honest. No one really shuts you down for being who you are. I think the one thing that I really loved about Yale is no matter how you dress or no matter what you do, no one will ever have a negative really view of you. Everyone that I personally met has been super supportive, and Yale does a really great job with getting a good mix of students from different backgrounds. A lot of the students were first generation, a lot of the students came from underrepresented communities, a lot of students were international students, so getting that good cultural mixing pot was actually really, really cool, as I was able to meet so many different really cool people who all had different interests that I was able to learn from. So that really goes hand in hand to my next question, which is, what is my best moment at Yale? Honestly, for me, this is a pretty general one, but just the people. I think coming from a public high school in Alabama and then going to Yale University, I was intimidated at first about whether I would be able to fit in intellectually or socially as well.
I got my college acceptance letters back.
Harvard, Princeton, and Yale.
From looking at the movies, Yale's always been depicted as one of those snobbish or pretentious universities where only the richest kids and kids who have connections can get into. I can proudly say that that was not the case whatsoever. I met some of the most genuine people and had the most awesome conversations just learning about their backgrounds and their heritage as well. All right, so we're gonna go pretty deep here. What is my biggest regret at Yale? I'm gonna need to sip some tea for that. My biggest regret at Yale, honestly, is I really wish that I'd made more content while being a student at Yale. And what I mean by this is sharing insights into day in the life of a Yale student, showing off the dining halls, all the clubs, the social life. I feel like just providing more education to others on my experience who may be contemplating whether it's the right choice for them. Luckily, I can still provide some of that value and knowledge today, being a Yale graduate, but it still doesn't hit the same as living in it in real time. My final question is, are Ivy Leagues worth the cost? After assessing the cost, the academics, the activities, my best moments, and my biggest regrets, I can honestly say that my experience at Yale has been a 9 out of 10. It's been fantastic. I was able to meet really awesome people, able to excel in my career, and one of the most valuable pieces of attending any type of university to that caliber is the number of connections you'll make. A lot of my friends and classmates will go off to do some really cool things, and being able to have that connection is very valuable that unfortunately not a lot of students get the opportunity to have. I think that is one of the reasons why these universities are so highly sought after, because it's not only the education you get at the university, but the prestige and opportunities that you get outside of the university Those are intangibles that are very important as well. Definitely very thankful being a first generation student, being able to go to Yale, and overall I have no major complaints aside from that one regret. I hope you all enjoyed this quick Q&A session. Really wanted to share some more light, candidly, and have an honest review about my experience at Yale. Feel free to comment below if you have any additional questions, and we'll catch you all in the next one.